Dress up the groove, the energy a little different when the blessings accrue. Hey, who you talking to? Just know I ain't no regular fool. Could be anything in the world, but I can never.
Good morning, everybody. Today we are looking into Fisker Inc., a newish EV startup. They were previously a sort of an oddball company that was competing against Tesla back in 2008. Then they came back through the SPAC route, so we're going to get into that. Going to spend the whole hour on Fisker. I've spent the last 24 hours tearing out my hair trying to understand this story. I got Jay. We're going to be doing this live. So buckle up. We're about to go deep.
At the top, I found some relief. I finally got some peace. Carry on, but please don't mess up the mood. Yeah, I worked too hard for it. No,
Jay Lutz, how do you doots?
I'm not too bad. It was a very hectic morning. A lot of M&A across small cap land, but let's get into Fisker.
Let's do it, baby. Okay, so we've done this previously in the past. We are going to attempt to do it again. I'm going to share my screen here. Here's what we try to look at when we do these. First off, we take a look at the overview and history. Then we look at the share structure. Then we try to take a look at the headwinds and tailwinds. We take a look at the company strategy. Take a look at the balance sheet and operating performance. This one's not going to take too long to look at. It's mostly a cashed up vehicle that doesn't really have any operating performance history. And then we'll take a look at the strategy, the comps, the red flags, and give our overall thoughts. Okay, so where to start? Let's start
With the overview and history.
I want to start talking about the past. Okay, so previously, Fisker was started back in 2007. In we're going to get into this in the next slide here in a second, but there's a history with Tesla here where Elon and Henrik actually hate each other. So Henrik was working for a design firm that of his own name. I believe it was called Fisker Coach Bus, Coach House, something like that. So he was moonlighting, doing a little bit of design work, working on starting his own EV company. And then ultimately they launched what became Fisker Automotive. At the time, they got this huge loan from the U.S. Department of Energy. They were supposed to open up a plant in Delaware as part of it. This plan with the Vice President Biden at the time. And you can see there we're going to get a $530 million loan. Then after I think 2 years into it, 3 years into it, they got their loan pulled from the U.S. Department of Energy because they weren't hitting the required milestones. At that point, they'd brought on a new CEO. Fisker picked up his ball. He left. He got to keep the Fisker brand, and the remaining assets got purchased by a Chinese group called Wangjang. Apologies if I got that wrong. Today they're actually still producing cars under the brand Karma Automotive. You can see the logo down there. So these were the two interesting little tidbits of vehicles that they had back in 08.
So for clarification, it looks like there's actually two Fisker Automotives.
Yeah, there's two Fisker companies. Primarily today, we're going to look at the new one, but the old one is such a big part of the story that you got to kind of.
I was going to say Henrik was at the helm in both instances, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So let's take a look here. Here he's designing cars. You know what? Let me pull up the slide that I did here on Henrik himself. So this is a very quick little overview on Henrik. He's CEO of the new company, Fisker Inc. He was most famous for designing the BMW Z8 and the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. I don't know if you know those cars, Jay. I'm assuming you do because you're a car guy.
I'll be honest. I'm not a huge Euro guy. I like my Audis, and that's about it for European.
Okay. Well, he's not a fan. So based on what I can find in terms of the filings, he owns about 20% of this new venture. And something that I found out just before we went live, again, I'm trying to just conglomerate all this information right before we go live, is that he is actually married to the COO and CFO of the company, which is never a good thing. Geeta Gupta Fisker. So let's go back to this lawsuit slide I had here. So Tesla hired multiple firms to work on the White Star, which is later renamed the Model S. And Henrik Fisker ended up being one of them. He then about a year and a half in, and there's a whole like backstory court thing that went on here that we're not going to get into, but obviously this created a bunch of waves and commotion in January 2008 when at the Michigan Auto Show he announced the Karma and how he was launching his own automotive company. Obviously Tesla, who handed over what they claimed was significant non-public information about their vehicles for him to help work on a design for them. He turns around, he creates his own car company while he's doing these designs for them. That being said, this got sent over to an arbitrator, and the arbitrator ruled in favor of Fisker, and I quote, "There was no evidence Fisker ever concealed its intentions to participate in the development of a plug-in hybrid with Quantum, or that it intended to become a manufacturer of a complete auto or a complete automobile." So we could see here, obviously Elon's not a huge fan. He says, and I quote, "I don't think very highly of Henrik Fisker." Okay, so moving on, let's move forward a little bit here.
Sorry, did the logo even change from?
No. So that's kind of the fun part, is he got to keep the brand. He was allowed to keep this brand going.
That just seems so odd to me.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is kind of an anomaly, right? You got this guy, he creates a car company that ultimately fails, and then
I didn't even realize it was producing before, if I'm being perfectly honest.
They sold about, I have the stats here somewhere. Let me pull it up here. My understanding here is that they sold around 1,400 cars in the U.S. in total.
That's not bad for a startup.
I see my old pal you've met, Kyle, is watching us today. Kyle and I both know a mechanic who works at a VW dealership who actually was once telling a story about how he got to fix a couple Fiskers that people brought in, and this is part of the model, is they used other designs from other manufacturers,
right.
And they'd give them royalties. So like, for example, one example they give in the Wikipedia page is that they used a door handle, and they gave GM a royalty for letting them use the door handle. So that's kind of, and we'll get into Fisker's deck here in a minute and take a look at specifically how they go about what they're doing. There's some interesting things, and it's hard to really distinguish how much of it is just verbiage and how real it all is. So let's do that right now. Let's take a look at the deck here. So let me change my screen. I got so many screens I can't even keep track. Okay. So very quick look at the deck here so we can get a sense of the company's overview. History, the brand established in 2005. But the Fisker Inc., which is this reincarnation, was actually established in 2016. They began trading in October 30th, 2020. This was via the SPAC route. And I've got the whole structure laid out for everybody in a second. Very high level structure of how that worked. They got about $1 billion of cash on the balance sheet to play with to try to make this whole vision come real. And of course, they got a vision of a clean future to create the world's most emotional and sustainable vehicles. There's some funny stuff in here.
I can understand the emotional, believe it or not, because they want a car where it drives by and people go, "Whoa, what is that?" Not, "Whoa, what the fuck is that?" Right?
That's the kind of thing that I'd normally expect you to laugh at.
I'm a car guy, so I understand what they're getting at.
Okay, so moving on here. So they're an asset light model. Okay, they're direct to consumer. In the previous carnation, they actually had set up dealerships in the U.S. for a company that hardly sold any cars. It was weird. And you know what ultimately took them out was they had a big shipment that came in. They were producing the cars previously out of, excuse me if I get this wrong, but I believe it was Finland. And they were all sitting in a warehouse in New Jersey, and they got taken out. 330 cars got wrecked during Hurricane Sandy. So now they're working on more of an asset light model. ESG focused OEM, of course, got to get that buzzword in.
It has to be. Yeah.
We want those funds to join us. Key partnerships, de-risk execution. So there's a few partnerships here. I've made some slides on them that we can get into, including Magna. They gave Magna 5% of the company, or 4.5% or something, via 1 cent warrants. In exchange.
This is a bit unrelated, but I truly think the next company we should deep dive is Magna. It's a quiet company that so few people know about, but it's a Goliath in terms of what they do for the automotive industry as a whole.
Yeah, I'm. The problem is that when like the nice thing about Fisker is there's not that much to research. I mean, like you could always go deeper. You could always find out more, but it's a relatively simple story. Something like Magna, where they're involved in so much.
Oh yeah, it'd have to be like a 2-hour special.
Yeah. So their strategy enables them to offer compelling vehicle pricing. Obviously, a lot of this verbiage is talking about forward-looking, and back in the fall, this forward-looking stuff looked pretty good. When Nikola was hot, Tesla was running, everybody was looking for the next EV plays. There was one that I think ran from pennies to like $30 because they said that they were going to get into EVs. I forget which name that was. So they're going to be internal R&D focused on the user experience and enhancing the base platform performance. Continue to execute on financial targets supported by partnership agreements, and implementation of digital marketing strategy and brand building efforts continues to drive growth in daily Fisker Ocean reservations and Fisker app downloads. We can see the management team.
Are they selling anything right now?
No, they're not. They're going to go into production.
But they're going to do a digital marketing strategy. So it's your classic SPAC at this point.
Yeah. So
that's good to know.
1 second here.
Whoa.
I pulled up the wrong slide. 1 second here. Give me a second. It's my first day. Can you see the slides there? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the straight up PowerPoint. It's easier for me to kind of go back and forth. Okay, so this is sort of how the structure looks here, because they're going to use Magna's EV platform and manufacturing. They went public via the SPAC route. They are planning to use Pivot, who is involved with Cox Automotive, for all their service stations, which there's a whole, like, they're actually trying to treat this more as like a SaaS model than a conventional come buy a car and let us lease it. They say that they're going to change the game in leasing. We'll watch the comments that Henrik Fisker said on Jim Cramer shortly. Again, JTD is asking us to look into NCU. We get it, JTD. You love NCU. Thanks for commenting and watching. So their first car will be the Fisker Ocean. They say that they're going to have 4 full vehicles by 2025. They're planning to begin production in Q4 of 2022. And by the way, I like that. I know that that's something that you probably don't feel so hot on, is this idea of let's make it sound like we're far away. But the truth is that building cars is really, really hard. And if you're trying to take something to production, saying that you've been working on this for 2 years and you're still 1.5 years away is probably realistic.
Oh, I don't disagree with that, but sorry, my headrest is bothering me there. My issue largely goes with the whole, okay, you went public, but you still don't have a product, right? Like, I think public markets as a whole have become bastardized in the sense of we're providing more money to startups than we are to operating businesses. And in my mind, that's not necessarily what the markets were intended to do. But I mean, at the same time, being realistic about timelines is probably better. I hope that's realistic and it doesn't get pushed to 2023. I imagine that'll push a lot of investors off, but it's kind of a catch-22. I like it, but I don't like it.
Okay, so let's keep going along here. Okay, so I talked about Mr. Fisker. Okay, the structure here. I'll get into the structure for a minute. So they did a $500 million pipe, $569 million in a SPAC. Again, they announced the EV. Things were pretty hot there, or that they were going to do a deal with an EV maker at a time where things were hot. They managed to churn through most of those redemption shares, and part of the trick with these SPACs is to get the share price up or drive open market buying, so that those who did the SPAC deal can just sell at a price higher than $10. If you can do enough volume, then you're probably going to get most of those redeemed, which I think in this case they got all of them redeemed. No, sorry, not redeemed. Filtered through, so they didn't get redeemed. And then we got the deal makers, the founders, the Henry Fiskers of the world, plus the SPAC founders. A little bit hard to actually get behind the actual ownership structure. I didn't spend a ton of time on that. Then we got Legacy Fisker. Obviously, this is where our man Henry Fisker has most of his position. And then they gave Magna about 19 million shares via warrants for participating. So
what I'm going to ask here. What's the price per share for those founders?
Well, okay, so I actually have that in the slide here at the very end now.
Okay, so if you're getting there, that's fine. We can.
No, this is of the SPAC though. 14 million shares. A bunch of them didn't get redeemed. They got surrendered for probably not hitting a milestone. At a total price of 0.002 cents per share. Now that's not for the actual Fisker proper. The Fisker proper.
No, that's for the trading vehicle, effectively, right?
Yeah. So how much did Henrik pay? He's got options at 7 cents. They did a whole bunch of notes and other things along the way to kind of consolidate it. I don't actually have a hard cash in value for you, but I'm okay with this structure. I want to make that clear. I don't see anything here that makes me go, oh God, this is a total scam. This isn't like the Vancouver stock where everybody paid less than 1 cent for their shares and it's trading at a $200 million market cap with no assets on the balance sheet and no credible people involved. This is, you've got real people involved in this company, real cash on the balance sheet, real partners like Magna and Foxconn. We're going to get into in a minute. I'm okay with this structure. I can look at this and say, okay, there's $1 billion cash on the balance sheet at a $3 billion valuation. Okay, so there's an additional, $2 billion spread for whatever assets they have. I don't know that they have very many right now. And that Fisker brand, perhaps it's a little bit egregious right now, trading at. Let me see if I can pull up the. Let me just grab this here. The current share price. According to Trading View here, I'll pull this up. Trading View, Fisker. FSR. I still don't love this Trading View. We're getting better at it, though, guys.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yep. Just give me 1 second here.
Sorry, I just want to make sure you had.
It keeps pulling up. There we go. It kept going down on me whenever I tried to do it. Okay, there we go.
So trading at just under $12. What type of market cap are we looking at? 3.5
billion. Like, you got to view this as a vehicle that's got $1 billion cash on the balance sheet, some credible names, some credible brands.
That chart is not a good thing, though. It looks like it just broke a support line in the last 2 days, so that's a negative.
Yep. And they recently got a downgrade by Goldman Sachs, who also downgraded Lordstown at the same time.
That might be related to some of that. The last few days of selling there. It looks like we're on day 1, 2, 3,
it was
5.
I want to say it was April 22nd. Let me pull it up for you here. On April 22nd, there was a downgrade from Goldman Sachs. Where was it? Fisker, okay, this doesn't have the actual date. I'll get that though. I have it on a slide. There's a few of us that were working
You
on
know
this.
what? If you click the news thing, it might actually say.
On TradingView, it might say.
Yeah, go down 2 from there, I believe. Yeah.
2 electric vehicle stocks recently downgraded by
April
Goldman Sachs.
30th.
April 30th. Look at you. You're right. And so April 30th, give or take, the stock was
Right at
$14.
the start of the latest drop there.
Let me go back. I guess I can do this, a 1 month chart. So April 30th was around here, right? No, here. Yeah, so the stock's down, from about 1350 to 1175. Not
the worst thing in the world, but still down.
Yeah, that could have something to do with it. Okay, so moving on here.
Sorry, I derailed the conversation.
No. It's good. It's good. This isn't a perfect video. This is live on the air diligence. Us just kicking tires at a name, trying to think about how we feel about it. So we've established the structure here. There's as you can see here, there's about 15 million shares out. So it's trading at, I don't know, what's 11 times 315? We'll say about a
$3.5 billion is really what it comes out to.
About a $3.5 billion market cap with $1 billion cash on the balance sheet. So you've got to be comfortable with this structure if you decide that you want to ultimately invest. And by the way, good time to say nothing we talk about on here is a buy or sell recommendation. If you are looking for that sort of thing, go find somebody who is licensed. We're just doing this on the air to the best of our ability with the knowledge we have.
So it looks like the sector, as I want to say sector, I'm speaking to electric vehicles as a whole. Just if you want to click that next slide there, Steve-O.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be down. The excitement from the sector has definitely faded. I don't know what BYD Co is, but
I believe it's a Japanese automaker.
Okay, but everyone seems to have peaked around that same point in time, exception of
Sorry,
Nikola.
Chinese. It's a Chinese.
Okay. With the exception of Nikola, which was absolutely murdered by Nate in a very well put together report. But other than that, everything's kind of been on the downswing since then. A few of them seem to be trading in line with each other. Nothing new, kind of a sector type thing.
Mm-hmm.
JTD, no way. Azincourt is like 8 hours north of me, and you can't even drive there. Flying only. Sorry to derail that.
Okay, so this is where they kind of lose me, is when they start talking about their big plans of what they're going to do strategically that makes them different, where I look at these things and I just have to go, you know what? I just don't feel comfortable with some of the verbiage or strategies or plans because, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't know, but the one thing that they talk quite a bit about here is they're going to use the Fisker flexible platform adaptive design. You see this throughout their marketing materials, this FFPAD with other OEMs. So in other words, they've got this idea where everything that they design can be used with other OEMs so that they can just slide in their specs and manufacture vehicles. They are launching with a highly this is straight from their S1 and their strategy. It might have been from the 10K. Launching with a highly respected brand name in the automotive and EV categories.
I'm going to stop you there. Launching with a highly respected brand name in the automotive and EV categories, the Fisker name. I don't know about you, but if a supplier came to me with the same name as a company that bankrupted and screwed me 10 years ago, I'm probably not going to be too willing to deal with you again.
Yeah, well, here, let me pull it up. This is straight from the 10K.
Like, I think that's the epitome of terrible marketing ability in that sense, right? Like,
was this the no? 1 second. What was it that you didn't like?
Yeah. No, you actually nailed it right there. Sure. Launching with a highly respected brand name in the automotive and EV categories, the Fisker name is a recognized part of the automotive industry history and has established premium EV brand value in the global EV marketplace. Henrik Fisker, Fisker's co-founder, chairman, president, and chief executive officer. You think he gave himself enough titles there? Is a pioneer in the EV industry, having launched the world's first luxury plug-in hybrid EV, and has a track record of successful designs as a former CEO and president of BMW Design Works USA and the former design director for Aston Martin. We enter the market with an established brand name that is associated with automotive innovation and superior design. When I think Fisker, I'm going to inherently think the failed company before I think of Henrik Fisker. Right, like.
Well, look, that's kind of what we're doing here. Is we're grasping at straws here with all these EV startups. So they're going to use an existing EV platform. So I guess that means that they're going to work with Magna. And this is a very interesting point, and it's a major risk as I see it. But what do I know? I believe that securing supply chain, and both in terms of the cells and the modules and the battery management system is a real struggle. This is what probably took them down the first time. They were using a company called A123 to supply them with their batteries. They were forced to do a battery recall, and then they went bankrupt. And then Fisker was kind of caught, as they say, with their pants down, trying.
So they're using the same strategy and hoping for different results. Now, that's not. To be clear here, most electric vehicle manufacturers are using batteries from a different supplier. Tesla is using Panasonic, I believe. That's one example. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
LG Chem's doing a ton of them for different companies.
Well, exactly, right? There's only so many people on the planet that are well-versed in the
Let me pull up here. There's an interview that they did that I just think is fantastic with Bloomberg, where Henry got grilled about this exact subject. Let me see if I can find the exact video. Just give me 1 second here. I think this might have been it.
While you're doing that, I mean, developing a digitally driven, hassle-free sales and service experience, that's just words. Reimagine the customer experience for personal transportation and car ownership. A lot of this is just marketing gimmickry rather than actually, hey, we're going to develop a vehicle that is good at what it does or what it's intended to do. Right? Like, there's nothing about range and being revolutionary in that aspect. Instead, they're saying, oh no, we're just going to work on our sales aspects.
Okay, so check this out. Here's where they kind of grill Henrik on the this on BNN Bloomberg. They grill him on the battery strategy, and you and I can sort of decide how we feel about his responses.
18.
Can you hear it?
So we actually have the bill of material cost already. 2 battery packs have been built into this vehicle from 2 of the largest battery manufacturers in the world. And we will have volume pricing because we are sharing this platform with one more OEM. And we may actually bring a 3rd OEM into this. So this is all about getting volume together and not alone. And that's kind of what's unique about this deal.
So just to be clear, you have secured a deal on the battery pack. That is signed, sealed, and done, yeah?
No, we have not signed, sealed, and done it because we're obviously still in negotiation on the volumes. But we have, this vehicle has already been designed with a battery pack inside it, because you can't, launch a vehicle and just decide on the battery pack later. This vehicle has already gone through durability testing. We already have the battery pack integrated into the vehicle, and it's from 2 of the largest battery suppliers in the world. And the other OEM have already negotiated their battery pack pricing, and we are just adding volume to that, and therefore we know the pricing already of the battery pack. And that's part of the bill of materials.
Henrik, who's the battery manufacturer?
We haven't announced that yet, and we'll probably wait a little bit for competitive reasons. We're still more than 2 years away from actually putting the car to the market. We are showing the final production car next year in May, as we just announced this morning, and we may announce it in May next year.
In terms of why you decided not to go with VW, I'm curious.
That kind of covers it there. I don't know how comfortable you are with those answers. Just having
they were not satisfactory. Here's me giving my hat tip to Bloomberg. Signed, sealed, and done. That's the exact phrase or wording that you want to use when talking to these people, because if they can't answer that clearly, then you know it's a load of bullshit. You can't say you've got agreements in place with two manufacturers and then go, oh, we haven't signed them. Well, I can draft a letter with the president of the U.S. If he doesn't sign it, doesn't mean diddly, right? Like it's like truly, like it means nothing if it's a piece of paper that isn't signed.
I mean, you and I were arguing yesterday about a company that had a storied history with somebody in the past, and I said, well, this microcap has announced a bunch of partnerships with this certain name, and I don't know if I've seen that certain name mention any partnerships with this microcap. And we do see this all the time where it's like, is it possible that in Canadian venture, in small caps, that you could see a company just put out news releases with another company? Anyways, that's kind of besides
without the company knowing.
Yeah,
I mean, with two of the largest manufacturers, well, who are they with? Oh, we aren't telling you. Well, I can literally say the same thing and be talking out my ass, but you can't prove I am because there's nothing to prove it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Right? Like, words are cheap.
Words are cheap, straight from the mouth of Lutz Magoots. Okay, so let's keep going on here. They're going to use manufacturing facilities starting with Magna, and then there are other cars. They're going to be working with Foxconn, who I actually think that this like seems like a logical thing to do. We'll get into them in a second, but they are like legit. In the words of MC Hammer, they may even be too legit to quit.
I was just going to ask you that.
So they're going to develop a digitally driven, hassle-free sales and service experience. They're going to continue to develop the Fisker Ocean. They're going to reimagine the customer experience with transportation and car ownership. They're going to develop additional high-value sustainable EV models. They're going to offer e-mobility as a service with flexible leasing, which I call
e-mobility.
I call bullshit on this. And the media seems to be buying it up that they're going to change the game with leasing, blah, blah, blah. I spent a lot of time on leasing. It ain't that easy. We'll get into that and more. Let's keep going. Okay, so this is it. Okay. E-mobility as a service. We're going to get into it right now. I'm messing around. I'm not going to pull any punches here, Jason. So Henrik Fisker plans to launch an open-ended electric mobility as a service. Well, you've heard of SaaS, you've heard of RaaS, but now you're going to hear of EMAS. It's a leasing program starting at $379 per month in late 2022. That includes your insurance, it includes your maintenance and service, and it includes a full warranty.
So to be clear, I can effectively lease a brand new vehicle for $379 a month, electric vehicle, which includes insurance, all maintenance and service, and a full warranty.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to call bullshit.
Yeah, I call bullshit too. You can put anything you want on an investor deck, and in this case,
Like, what would that work out to in terms of an actual sales price for a vehicle? That'd be like 20 grand.
Oh yeah, no, but like they've got this whole. There probably is some merit to this idea of used leasing and how they are going to take care of all the service fees, of which they're going to use Cox Automotive for. I think that there's some merit to that if it's done properly and structured properly. So,
I'm sure there is. It's the price point that's.
You're right. We talk about used leasing quite a bit and whether or not it actually makes sense. So we can see here. This is from the 10K. Our goal is to revolutionize how customers view personal mobility and vehicle ownership. We plan to employ an innovative e-mobility as a service business model that combines a customer-focused experience and flexible leasing options with affordable monthly payments and no fixed term. There's no term to this, baby. Take your car back, throw them the keys. You're out of the.
So no fixed term. So I can. What they are saying, if there's no fixed term, I can rent a vehicle for $380 a month with all insurance, maintenance, and warranty on it. They're running a rental program.
Yeah, they're running a rental program that they claim that you'll be able to get at like a 5-year, 6-year lease rate. You're right. They're running a rental program. I like that way of putting it. We plan a go-to-market strategy with both web and app-based digital sales, loan financing approvals, leasing, and service management tools with limited reliance on traditional brick-and-mortar sales and service dealer networks. Prospective customers would be able to touch and feel the vehicles at immersive Fisker experience centers, which we anticipate will initially be located in key strategic locations across the United States and Europe. These centers will utilize dynamic, augmented, and virtual reality for customers to experience the vehicles, their technology, and sustainability features. Virtual factory tours, group test drives, and in-store vehicle visualization will be offered to prospective customers at the Fisker Experience Centers, along with specification and offering for customers choosing not to use the web or app-based sales. Fisker believes that the customer-focused approach will drive user engagement in our products, brand, and technology, and result in positive customer experiences.
So I just want to hold something up here for a second, because this price point is really, really irritating me. So I've actually quickly pulled up Chevrolet. This is Chevrolet.ca. So yes, there's going to be some US to Canadian issues, whatever. A base model 2021 Malibu. Financing is $322 monthly for 48 months. Yeah, I know leasing is going to be a bit cheaper. I couldn't find quickly how to get to the leasing, whatever. But this is a $25,000 car. An electric vehicle is going to be $50,000. Anything that Fisker designs, because he's so focused on design that he's going to have that higher price point. This just is not going to happen. Like that, where's your insurance in that and everything else? There's no spread to be made.
The EMobility as a service is the Steve Burns workhorse. We have fleet orders because fleets really want to sign up and do a massive order with an unproven car company. Like, oh, why buy one company, which is enough risk to know if it's going to work or not? Instead, I'll buy 500. I actually think that this is a similar case here with this EMobility as a service. It makes 0 sense and doesn't pass the smell test. Still, I digress. Let's take a quick look at what they put on their deck. So here's how they break it down for you, Jason Lutz. They've got the Fisker Ocean versus the average. Ooh, sorry, let me pull up my screen here. I do this from time to time, guys. That's why we need a producer. Our producer Chris is off in the Philippines getting massages from 3 masseuses at once, apparently. He gets hired by us, and we're such terrible negotiators that he commented to us the other day that he's got 3 maids and 3 masseuses. Anyways, one day we'll have Chris take over the video control so that you guys don't have to look at my face when you should be looking at the screen. Okay, so here we go. Fisker Ocean, $379 million $379 in a monthly payment. A $3,000 drive off, I think that's what you're supposed to pay, I assume.
Okay, so you put $3,000 down to be able to rent it for $380 a month.
Yeah, there's no fixed term. You're allowed to drive it for 30,000 miles per year. They have all this beautiful verbiage to tell us why this is special. So
I want to highlight here, why would anyone believe that Fisker can make an SUV just over half price with half the drive off, no fixed term, and offer double the mileage?
Oh, because they're going to
like, it doesn't pass the smell test. Why would you invest in this? What would make you believe that this is genuine?
And this is where the challenge really comes in. If you are a retail investor looking at this, and you're looking for stock that you can buy, close your eyes and wake up 10 years later and see how it does. These are just ideas that people are putting down on decks, right? Like, how much modeling have they done? And what are the assumptions that exist in said modeling? Because
actually, you know what? You know why this doesn't pass the smell test? Sorry to interrupt you there. Because what financial institution is going to sign off on this with no fixed term?
You mean in terms of doing the
if they're doing a warehouse lease, that's one thing. But if they intend to do any form of flow through leases to get it,
Well, that's a good question. You're actually asking us, how are they going to finance these cars, right? And this makes the revenue model in a market where everybody's obsesses over top line revenue. The revenue is not going to be that hot out of the gate if they are just going to build these cars and treat them as inventory and act like a rental company. They're probably not going to be there's not going to be a flow through component. They're going to have to warehouse that on their own balance sheet,
and then the question is where does the capital come from that they can support that?
Exactly. That was what I was going to get to next, is who and as you brought up, who's going to fund that, right? Like who is going to say, guys, you are going to change the game of car leasing. You are going to work with a company you don't control to provide all the service, and you're going to allow people to just throw their keys if they're unhappy with their car and walk away. And we're happy to write the check for you guys to try out this experiment that nobody's ever done before. Well, you're totally undercapitalized and you need capital to pull this off. I think that it lends a very good question.
You know, like I know I'm getting hung up on this, and that is what it is. But with no fixed term, you know what I think of? You're driving down the road, something starts to grind, and you go, okay, it's not my problem. I just take it back, and now Fisker's left with a broken vehicle that perhaps you're able to disguise it for long enough that you don't have to pay any fee or anything, but they're covering full warranty anyway, full service maintenance. So this seems like a prime opportunity to get a bunch of junkers back as soon as they're broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they've got a whole strategy too with the used leasing. I don't know if I got that in here. Did they talk about it here? No, sorry. Okay, so this is the next part. We'll move on. You guys can make up your mind. Apologies if you disagree with Jay. In the comments, say, Jay, you're a dick, and I'm sure that there's going to be other things that he says that you find to be a little bit too spicy. Let's move on here. So this is the Fisker Flexible Platform Agnostic Design, the FFPAD, the FFPAD. I don't know what they're calling it, but here's how they describe it in their most recent 10K. We have entered into a cooperation agreement with Magna, which sets forth the main terms and conditions of a platform sharing partnership. We intend that the final platform, codenamed FM29, will form the basis of the Fisker Ocean and at least one additional fiscal model. Engaging in collaboration and partnership arrangements is intended to enable us to share investments made by industry-leading OEMs and Tier 1 automotive suppliers, allowing us to focus on creating value beyond basic engineering and customer expectations. We believe this platform sharing arrangement will reduce delivery risk by eliminating factors such as development of new and untested manufacturing processes and creation of new supply chains. You know what this sounds like to me, Jason?
Go for it.
A company that has no cash that's trying to make up reasons that they can produce cars without very much cash.
I'm not going to lie to you. I lost interest in this after they tried to push that whole EMAS or whatever it is.
EMAS, electric mobility as a service.
Yeah.
The critical elements of this platform, also referred to as a skateboard. Oh, look at this. They're getting fancy on us, Jason. We plan to adopt may include, for example, the sheet metal structure for the floor plan of the vehicle, the electric powertrain, the suspension, steering and braking system, airbags, seat belts, and other architectural elements such as seat frames and HVAC. The implicit functionality provided by the platform / skateboard reduces the task of satisfying all of the requirements associated with high and low speed crash worthiness, side impacts and roof crush, occupant injury, and pedestrian safety, among others. To one of system tuning. Similarly, durability, noise, vibration, and harshness performance become optimizing exercises where we take an already highly developed product and improves in those areas that are important to its customers. Alongside the FFPAD, we intend to focus our design and engineering process on improving the flow of information from customer demands to design and engineering, including sales and marketing, vehicle engineering.
So
design and engineering. A lot of repetition there.
Basically, what they're saying is rather than focus on building cars, they're focusing on marketing.
Which,
Unless I'm reading that entirely incorrectly.
yeah, which if cars become a commodity, that's not a terrible idea. Like we were approached this week about creating a deep dive vape pen. This is a regular pen. For the regulators out there, I can't smoke this. There's no cannabis product in it. But we were approached by a manufacturer about creating our own deep dive pen. Perhaps we should. I think we were saying yesterday we'd put up to the audience who could help us name this pen.
Steve's secret stash.
So let's take a look here at the Fisker Ocean. This is last night. By the way, last night I briefly thought I had COVID. I don't know if you've had any of those moments. A teacher at my son's daycare got COVID, and now he's out of school for 2 weeks. And I was having like hot flashes and like was feeling kind of. So anyways, young Justin and I were going through this and just laughing our butts off at some of the verbiage that they use to describe the Fisker Ocean, which surprisingly sounds like you would agree with some of it, because you do get emotional over vehicles.
Well, I understand what they're trying to get at, but
so
mode, what the fuck is that?
California mode means that it'll open the sunroof and all of your windows simultaneously.
I would actually love that because I love driving with windows down. That's so hilarious to call it that.
This is literally everything Justin and I were laughing at. You're just like, oh, I get that. I'm a car guy.
Yeah, that's because you two never like to leave your offices.
Hey, in Justin's case, it's his mom's basement.
Extra wide track, that's actually a positive for stability purposes. Fixed hood, I don't know why you would want a fixed hood. To me, if there's no engine there, that's a prime opportunity for storage space, which even in an SUV, you're always wishing you had a bit more space. User interface, whatever. Autonomy, it's an electric vehicle. We're headed down that route anyway. Solar roof. Well,
yeah, I'm surprised more don't have that already.
Truth be told, I don't know why a solar roof isn't a big thing. Maybe it's just the charging system takes up too much weight or space. Vegan interior. Get the hell out of here. I don't give a shit. But if you're appealing to people in California, who knows, maybe. Recycled materials in the interior. I don't care. Sustainability. Yeah, you got it that with the vegan and recycled materials.
JTD says, oh boy, sounds like yoga pants territory. Recycled yoga pants for the interior. That's what they're referring to. Customers and backlog. Right now, they claim that they have 14,000 paid reservations.
They say the word paid.
Yeah, kudos to them.
Lordstown, I'll give them that. $250 deposit with a $25 cancellation fee. There's still room for gamification.
Lordstown was paying $30 for every fake order. and here they're getting $25
for cancellations.
Yeah, for cancellations. And which I misspelled cancellation there. Let me fix that. Oh, there we go. I'm doing this on the air on the fly. But I still think that $250 per reservation, at 10,000 cars, what does that work out to? $250,000. You're telling me you couldn't come up with those and make it sound like you have a bunch, and ultimately, you're going to get clipped for a 10% deposit, so $25,000. If you're Henrik Fisker and you own 66 million shares at $10, you got close to $1 billion position in this thing, $500 million.
Let's.
What's $250,000 to fake a backlog? I'm not saying he did that. I'm just saying that.
But it's only a $25 cancellation fee, so the fee's less than that.
Yeah, my point is that if you are a large investor in this company, you are. I don't know how you do that. Just seeing the work that Nate did on Lordstown, it makes me really question any of these reservations. I'm also just kind of like, who wants to buy the first generation of an electric vehicle from it?
Who wants to buy the first generation of any vehicle, really? Or
even
when, truly, when GM or Ram or anything comes out with a new truck, the key thing is you wait 2 to 3 years so that the kinks in the new model are worked out.
Karem Kassam, says California mode also opens the back trunk glass. There we go. Look at that.
Like
Jay wishes he had that in Saskatchewan. He could have snow coming in from all windows in the middle of July.
Toyota Hilux has that, and it's one of the coolest features that they have because it's actually from the 1990s. Anyways, irrelevant to this.
Let's keep going. We've only got about 10 more minutes here.
We got 10 more minutes until I got places I gotta be. So let's get after.
Okay, so Foxconn. Foxconn's actually one of the number one. It is the largest outsourced manufacturer of electronics in the world.
They make Apple iPhones or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got it on there actually. Sorry.
I did some research on Foxconn, and interestingly enough, they've got their own Wikipedia page dedicated to suicides in their factories. So
what?
Yeah. There's been people who build these iPhones just can't take it anymore, and they jump out buildings and whatnot. I'm not trying to make light of this, but it's pretty wild that you've got a Wikipedia page dedicated to suicides at your company. You want me to pull it up quickly?
No, now that you say that, I think I've actually read the Wikipedia page.
Look at this. Foxconn suicides. A lot of them threw themselves from the building. They actually document this. I guess it happens on the job.
It's
so
happening on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, but Foxconn is going to be doing some of their future manufacturing. So they have not just one manufacturing partner in Magna, but two, because they have Foxconn, and these are credible companies, folks. This isn't like made up companies where Lordstown Motors, they're going to get their hub motors made by a very undercapitalized company that almost went bankrupt out of Slovenia. Foxconn is the real deal and adds some more merit to this company. So although in some ways we're shitting on it, in other ways they're doing some good things. Okay, so there's this company here. I did a little bit of homework on them. They are called Vigo.
You got a typo in the heading there, buddy.
Oh, Vigio. Because I like Vigio. To me, sounds like a better name than Vigo. But
I agree.
I don't work in their branding department. So this is their big fleet order here, where this company, which currently only has 50 cars in Norway, 55 in Norway. Which to their credit, they put that right in the news release. So I will give the fine folks over at what company are we talking about? Fisker. I'll give the fine folks over at Fisker credit for being very transparent in this news release. And for the most part, I actually find their S1 and financial materials relatively transparent. Now watch this. Tomorrow, Nate's going to drop just a damning.
I'm sure you will.
After I said that they seem pretty good in terms of transparency, I found it relatively.
You know what the trick is you make it look like you're transparent when really you aren't. Yeah.
So they've got, this is their big fleet order. I think it says 300 cars.
300, yeah.
Okay. The structure: Magna received 20 million warrants at a penny for this cooperation agreement. Sometimes you can buy credibility, like what Nikola did something similar with GM. The GM, whether you're Magna or you're GM, you're kind of viewing this as, our risk here is reputational, right? Like if you're getting free equity in a company, I mean, like, look, that at today's share price at $11, that's over $200 million in equity that Magna got for agreeing to work with them to produce vehicles on this
for actual pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. And then here we can see on April 22nd, they got downgraded by Goldman. Goldman said, and I quote, I don't know which analyst this was. Well, we appreciate the steps that the company is taking to try to differentiate its upcoming products. We are incrementally concerned about what we believe is the company's late time to market. The company is planning to enter the industry starting in the fourth quarter of 2022 with its Ocean SUV as competition increases. That's a really good point, because You like when GM announces that they're going to have cars out in 2022, that means we're going to start to see them in 2021. Well, I know that there's a bit of a chip shortage going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next, let's talk briefly here about the risks as we see it. I believe that the battery cell supply chain is going to be a big issue for them. I wasn't really comfortable with Henrik's answers when he was on Bloomberg. This is what you do in small cap and venture capital, is when you need another part of your company that requires capitalization. You say, oh, we're going to get it for free from somebody else and use their capital and infrastructure to do it. It's a great strategy, and then you add the valuation, you add cash, and eventually you can take over your own parts of your supply chain. But having been an investor in Iguana Technologies, who I know has struggled immensely with supply chain, I believe the company would be reeling over $10 million a quarter right now if they just could get batteries off boats and start selling them.
Well, they did make an announcement on that this morning.
Yeah, so we'll get into that tomorrow. But they got dependency on OEMs because they're hoping to share platforms and infrastructure, dependency on suppliers, or especially for batteries. I don't think I mentioned that. They've got a relationship with collaboration partners. Remember, GM walked from Nikola, and GM and Magna could do the same thing to Fisker if if Nate decides to write a report at this point. That could totally end the relationship for Fisker and Magna. Software issues. One of the big issues with that first Fisker Automotive, the Karma back in the day, was I don't know if you ever had any GPSs when you used to be able to buy handheld GPSs at like Walmart or Canadian Tire, but you'd often like go to hit them and the touch screens didn't work very well. That was a big problem for the previous Fisker car.
Awful.
So the track record with Henrik Fisker, who's really kind of a designer, he's not really, I don't know that he's an
anyone
engineer.
can draw a pretty picture, but to mold that into an actual working vehicle is a whole different argument.
Yeah, and he's clearly a good storyteller too, because he's managed to do this twice and get people excited. Reservations are cancelable, so they got 14,000 reservations. Those can be canceled and it will only cost you $25. You get your other $225 back. Anybody who's looking at buying a $50,000 car, though, like they probably should get their
$50. There's no way it can physically be $50,000 with the program they have in place.
Yeah, well, they've got numbers I think as low as $29,000, but that I'm sure that depends on if you're outright buying it or if you're leasing it. Building cars is hard. This is something I talk about quite a bit, and I know that all you Tesla short bros, you guys don't like hearing this, but Tesla has accomplished something that you legitimately have to tip your hat to.
Absolutely.
It is hard to build cars. What's demand ultimately going to look like for these vehicles? We don't know that yet. And did I mention the battery cells? There's one other article that I didn't bring up that I really wanted to share with you, Jay, because I don't know if you saw it, but I'm sure that you're about to get an erection when I say this. There was a study in California recently that showed that 20% of people with electric vehicles exchange them for a combustible engine vehicle because they think that having a plug-in electric vehicle is a huge inconvenience.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I've said since the start with so many of these. If we can get to the point in time where, like, I'll tip my hat to Fisker here in terms of the solar roof. It extends range, right? The number one risk is if I got to drive to Alberta tomorrow, I am not willing to stop 3 times and wait an hour each time for the vehicle to charge. It's just not going to happen. Right? When I can have a 5-minute fill up with a combustible engine, it just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on here. There's 2 groups of valuations here. Thanks to Tesla, we've got the EV companies, which generally have very high valuations. Tesla trades at, I don't know, $600-700 billion, while producing far less cars than any of the big auto companies, which trade at far less than 1 time sales. Meanwhile, Tesla's trading at about 14 times. so they're probably going to get that kicker. They're going to get that new EV multiple, assuming that the market holds, and they're able to sell some cars. Probably works out well. You're probably not going to get the full sales pop though, because they're planning this weird leasing model. Which, you know what, if they could find a greater fool who wants to pay for this, they might be able to actually change the game. If somebody actually wants to be the risk taker on that leasing model, I don't doubt that it is possible to do that. But I think that leasing already sort of is that. And my belief on it is that if there's no fixed term, we'd see a lot more people doing 1-year leases if that made sense. But it doesn't make sense. So
if I could pay $3,000 every year, lease for 12 months, and then get the new model, I don't even care that I don't have equity in the vehicle. I got a new vehicle that I don't have to worry about maintenance on.
Okay, so last thing, and you know what, guys, I'm not going to go through the income statement, cash flow statement, or balance sheet. They've got a strong balance sheet. They have lots of cash. They don't produce revenue. They burn cash. We get all that. I'm not going to do a huge deep dive into that right now because there's just not a lot to talk about. Overall thoughts, and we'll wrap it up here. I think that Fisker is a very interesting company that if you really, really want to invest in an electric vehicle, I would certainly give Henrik a nod over a Nikola or a Lordstown. I do think that they are better than either of those comps, but I do think that building cars is very challenging. I think that this model is way too confusing. They don't have control over enough things, which means a lot of stuff can go wrong because they don't control enough parts of their supply chain. This to me looks like a nightmare if they are able to actually sell a fair degree of cars because they don't control their supply chain. Again, I don't think it's the worst EV deal I've seen, but gun to my head, bull or bear, I am a bear. I don't think that this company works out well, and I think that they'll either be acquired down the road by a real car company.
What's there to acquire, even though, Steve? Genuinely, what has Fisker developed that GM could not develop already?
That's a good question, and the answer is perhaps they create a brand that people like. It is, this whole thing feels an awful lot like an interior designer playing CEO. And that's
and to that point, gun to my head, I would buy Lordstown's endurance pickup truck over Fisker's Ocean SUV any day of the week without question.
Oh, okay. Well, look, you're placing. Let's do that as we continue to go through these EV companies. We'll create a big board of how we rank all these EV companies. Valuation aside, let's put the valuation aside.
I'm also a truck guy, so I'm a bit biased, but I would take the endurance absolutely without question from Lordstown over the Fisker Ocean.
And they've also got GM working with them, and GM knows a thing or two about building cars. These guys have Magna.
Magna knows a lot about making parts, not necessarily assembling the final product. That is my understanding.
These are all fairy tales that these companies tell to raise money, and that's the problem. Is where there's a lot to wrap your head around when it comes to venture capital and trying to do these things. You've got to get investors to buy into your ability to sell lots of cars and do it in a capital light fashion so that they will invest. I think that all of these EV companies are looking at Tesla. They want to be Tesla. They're not going to be Tesla because despite what all the shorts want to say, and I'm not saying that the valuation makes any sense at Tesla, making cars is really hard. What Tesla did is truly remarkable on so many levels. And all these companies that think that they can just go out and do the same thing are going to find out how hard it is, how many problems they're going to run into. Just little things like the direct to customer model is not an easy thing to do. Henrik's already gone up against Elon once. He got his ass handed to him. Probably happen again, but this time he's got a lot more people to go up against than just Tesla. Jay, quickly.
Final thoughts very quickly. When you think electric cars, what do you think? Tesla. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Tesla. But I'll be honest, they're early models. I would actually drive one, buy one, whatever. It's the latest incarnations where the quality has slipped so bad. So I mean, pre-Model 3 production, the quality was there. They have a premium name. They've managed to keep that premium name while selling sub-premium vehicles. So I'll give Musk full credit there. Yeah, he's got a fanboy following, everything else that drives me mental. But at the end of the day, it'll be Tesla competing with the GMs, Volkswagens, Porsche, Ford, all those names. And then these Lordstowns, Fiskers, Nikola's, they'll all be second tier at best.
I agree. So listen, everybody, nothing we talked about on the show is a buy or sell recommendation. If you're looking for that sort of thing, go find somebody who's licensed, not somebody like myself or Jay. Again, this is for information and entertainment purposes only. Look, guys, we did this to the best of our ability. We want to do these regularly where we look at a company, do a little bit of research for 24 hours, break it down, and give you our thoughts. Hopefully there was some value in this exercise for some of you. Again, if you're serious about investing in any of these things, do your own due diligence, do your own homework, because we're just a couple of ding-dongs talking about stocks. We love this stuff. We're grateful we get to wake up every morning and work on stocks, analyze them, write about them, make videos about them. We're living the dream. Look, guys, you can spend the last hour staring at any screen, any place in the world, but you chose to spend it with us. I sincerely appreciate that. Tomorrow, we're supposed to have the CEO of Global Locally, or Local Globally. I don't know what they're called, but I'm excited about it. I legitimately am. It's a new fast food vegan deal. I love my fast food, and I think that the vegan segment's going to continue to grow. To me, it's an exciting deal. I haven't done much homework on it, so tune in tomorrow. And thanks for joining us, everybody. And for those of you who participate in the comments, I sincerely appreciate that. JTD, Karim Kassam, Argoen, Kyle Connolly, Faye Dickens, and JTD. The Jays need to win tonight. Let's get our caps on and go try to sneak out a win in the Bay Area. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Climb at all. At the top, I found some relief, you see. So please don't miss